The workshop at rest. Welcome. The workshop rests in the quiet hours now, long after the last footsteps have faded, and the overhead fluorescents have dimmed to a soft amber glow. A single task lamp pools gentle light across a wooden workbench. And somewhere in the stillness, a ventilation fan turns with a rhythm so steady it becomes almost invisible, like breathing you've forgotten you're doing. This is the kind of place where nothing needs to happen quickly, where the night stretches out in all directions, unhurried and calm. You're welcome here, in this space between the busy day and the deep rest of sleep. Tesla and related names are trademarks of Tesla, Inc. And this story, this gentle, wandering telling, is simply a fan-made creation, unofficial and unendorsed, offered only for relaxation and the soft pleasure of letting your mind drift. It isn't advice of any kind, not for business or health or finances, just a quiet companion for the edge of sleep. And now, with that small note tucked away like a tool returned to its drawer, you can settle more fully into the stillness of this room. This night, this breath. Let your eyes rest. If they haven't already, let the lids grow heavy, or let them close whenever that feels natural. There's no right moment for it, no perfect timing you need to find. Just permission, soft and open, to let go of watching, of monitoring, of tracking anything at all. The air in the workshop carries a faint coolness near the wide bay doors, where the night presses gently against the seams. But closer to the workbench, closer to that pool of amber light, the air feels a little warmer, as if the lamp has been on for hours now, patiently holding its small circle of comfort. You might notice how your own body responds to warmth and coolness, how the skin registers these subtle shifts without needing any instruction from you. The body knows how to notice. The body knows how to rest. On the bench, a charging cable lies coiled in a loose spiral, its surface smooth and cool to the touch if you were to run a finger along its length. The connector at the end catches a glint of light, and there's something quietly satisfying about the way such a cable fits into its port. A soft click, a settling, a sense of completion that asks nothing more of anyone. Drawers beneath the bench are closed, their contents resting in their places, small tools, soft cloths, a few spare connectors wrapped in protective sleeves. Everything has a place here. Everything belongs. And so you, too, can settle into your place now. The surface beneath you supports your weight fully. And there's nothing you need to hold up, nothing you need to carry. Let your shoulders begin to soften, just a little, as if the muscles there have been waiting all day for this invitation. You don't have to force them down or push them into position. Just notice them. Just let them know that the work of holding is finished for now. The hum of the ventilation continues, low and even, a sound that fills the room without crowding it. Some people find that such a hum becomes a kind of anchor itself, a tone that the mind can rest against like a hand resting on a railing. Others find it fades into the background so completely that it disappears. Either way is fine. Either way, the hum continues, steady and unbothered, asking nothing of you. In a corner of the workshop, beneath a soft cloth cover, the silhouette of a car rests in shadow. The fabric drapes over its curves with a gentleness that suggests care, patience, the quiet attention of someone who takes time with small things. You don't need to see the car clearly to sense its presence. A shape at rest, waiting for nothing, complete in its stillness. And this, too, can be a kind of permission to be a shape at rest, to wait for nothing, to feel complete in stillness. Let your jaw soften now, if it hasn't already. The muscles along the sides of your face, the ones that work so hard during the day to speak and chew and hold expressions, can begin to release their effort. Let your teeth part just slightly so that your jaw hangs open a fraction of an inch, suspended and easy. The tongue can rest against the floor of your mouth or settle gently behind your lower teeth, wherever it finds the least effort. There's no correct position, only the one that lets you stop trying. The clock on the wall makes no sound that reaches you here. Perhaps its hands move in their slow circle. Perhaps they rest in a kind of stillness of their own. It doesn't matter. Time in this workshop has a different quality than time in the daylight world. It stretches and softens like warm wax, like honey dripping from a spoon. You can let your sense of time grow soft, too. The minutes don't need counting. The hours will pass whether you track them or not. A small clipboard rests on the edge of the workbench. Its paper holding a few notes in pencil. The graphite lines faded and gentle. Someone wrote these notes at some point, perhaps checking off a task, perhaps recording a measurement. But the content of those notes doesn't matter now. What matters is the quietness of a task completed, a small thing attended to and then released. The pencil lies beside the clipboard, its tip worn smooth, its purpose fulfilled for the day. Even tools can rest. And as your body continues to settle, you might bring your attention to your hands. Wherever they lie, by your sides, across your chest, curled loosely or open. Let them grow heavy. Let the fingers soften, the palms relax, the wrists release any last holding. Hands do so much during waking hours. They grip and type and gesture and carry. But now, in this quiet workshop of the mind, they can simply be heavy, warm, still. The story that will unfold here, across the gentle hours of the night, is a simple one. It's the story of how a company, a group of people working with patience and care, began to build electric cars, not through dramatic leaps, but through small experiments, quiet adjustments, routines that became steady over time. There's nothing urgent in this telling, no crisis to resolve, no tension to hold. Just a gradual unfolding of effort and learning, like a plant growing toward light, like water finding its way downhill. The kind of story where nothing happens suddenly, and everything happens in its own time. But you don't need to follow every detail of that story. Mind can drift, can wander, can catch a phrase here and there, and let the rest slip past like leaves on a slow current. That's fine. That's more than fine. The story will continue whether you track it or not, and your only task, if it can even be called a task, is to rest. To let the words wash over you like that faint hum of ventilation. Present and steady and asking nothing in return. Back in the workshop, the air has settled into its nighttime rhythm. The coolness near the doors has deepened just slightly. The warmth near the lamp has held its soft circle. Somewhere in the building, a thermostat clicks quietly, adjusting something, maintaining something, and then falls silent again. These small sounds are the sounds of a space that tends to itself, that doesn't need supervision or attention. You can trust that the room will hold you, that the night will continue on its course, that everything that needs to happen is already happening without your effort. The breath moves in and out, and you don't need to guide it. You might simply notice, in a loose and easy way, how the inhale comes when it comes, how the exhale follows when it follows. The chest rises and falls, or perhaps it's the belly that moves more noticeably. Either is fine. Both are fine. All of it is fine. Some people find it calming to count breaths for a moment. Perhaps breathing in for a count of 3 or 4, holding gently, then releasing for a count that feels natural. But if counting feels like effort, you can let it go. The breath knows what to do. The body has been breathing since long before you learned to count anything at all. In the early days of any endeavor, there's a period of simple beginning, a first sketch, a first prototype, a first attempt that doesn't need to be perfect because it's only a starting point. The people who began working on electric vehicles in small garages and quiet workshops understood this. They knew that progress would come not from a single brilliant moment, but from the accumulation of small efforts, one adjustment following another, one question leading to the next. And this knowledge itself is a kind of comfort that things can grow slowly, can develop over time, can become what they're meant to become without anyone forcing or rushing. But now the thought of that early work can settle back down, like a tool placed gently on the bench, like a cloth smoothed over a resting shape. The workshop holds all of these stories within it. All of these possibilities, but none of them need to be examined closely tonight. They can simply be present, like the hum of the fan, like the glow of the lamp, like the weight of your own hands resting wherever they rest. Let your forehead smooth if you notice any tension there. Let the space between your eyebrows soften, the muscles around your eyes release. These small muscles work so hard during the day, focusing and squinting and expressing, and now they can simply be smooth. The skin of the face can feel almost slack, almost melting, as if gravity itself is helping you let go. The night outside the workshop is deep and quiet. Perhaps stars are visible somewhere beyond the glow of distant streetlights. Perhaps clouds have drawn a soft blanket across the sky. It doesn't matter which. What matters is the sense of the world grown still, of activity paused, of a great gentle quieting that extends in all directions. You are part of that quieting now. You are held within it. The coiled cable on the bench catches the light again. Its surface smooth, its potential resting. A cable like this might carry energy, might transfer power from one place to another, but right now it carries nothing, holds nothing, simply waits in its loose spiral like a sleeping thing. And there's something restful about potential that doesn't need to be used, about capacity that can simply exist without being called upon. You, too, have potential that can rest. Energy that doesn't need to be spent. Capacity that can simply be without demand. Your shoulders may have softened further by now, settling deeper into whatever surface supports them. Your jaw may have released another fraction of effort, the muscles along the sides of your face growing quieter still. Your hands may feel heavier, warmer, more completely at rest. And all of this is happening without any striving, without any particular technique or method. Just the natural movement of the body toward ease, like water finding its level, like a stone settling into sand. The workshop will remain here through the night, holding its quiet contents, its resting shapes, its steady hum and soft light. The stories it contains will wait patiently, ready to be remembered or forgotten, followed or released. And in the sections to come, as the night deepens further, there will be time to settle even more fully into this space, to explore its small routines and gentle details, to let the mind drift further toward the soft edge of sleep. For now, the lamp continues its patient glow. The ventilation continues its steady breath, and the covered car rests in its corner like a promise that asks nothing. For now, you can simply be here, in this quiet workshop, in this unhurried night, breathing in and breathing out, letting the next breath come when it comes, letting the next moment arrive when it arrives. And somewhere beyond the stillness of this room, there are other quiet spaces waiting, the steady routines of tasks completed and tools returned, the gentle rhythms of work done with care, ready to be explored whenever the time feels right. Small things in their places. The workshop holds its stillness as before, the amber glow of the task lamp unchanged, the ventilation fan continuing its patient rhythm somewhere in the soft darkness beyond the workbench. Nothing has shifted. Nothing has hurried forward. The night simply continues, steady and unhurried, like a breath that doesn't need to end. You are still here, still resting, still held by this quiet space. And in that holding, there is room for small movements now. Not urgent movements, not effortful ones, but the kind of gentle actions that belong to the late hours. The slow tidying that happens almost without thought. The arranging of things that are already mostly arranged. A hand reaches toward a shallow drawer, slides it open with a soft click, and pauses there for a moment, just resting at the edge of that small opening. Inside the drawer, a set of sockets lies in a foam tray, each one nestled in its own fitted space. Some are slightly out of order. A larger socket where a smaller one belongs. A gap where something was borrowed and not yet returned. There's no urgency to correct this, but there's a quiet pleasure in it, too, in lifting one socket and setting it gently into its proper place, feeling the soft resistance of the foam as it accepts the weight, hearing the faint settling sound as metal meets its home. You might notice your own hands growing heavier as you imagine this. Or you might simply let the image drift past like a leaf on slow water. Either way, the drawer remains open. The sockets continue their patient waiting, and the night continues its long, gentle unfolding. The next socket is cool to the touch, its chrome surface smooth beneath the fingers. It weighs almost nothing, and yet there's a satisfying density to it. A sense of purpose contained in that small cylinder. To place it in its proper position requires only the smallest movement. A lift. A shift. A settling. And then it's done. One small thing in its right place. One small completion that asks nothing more. Let your jaw soften again. If you notice any holding there, the muscles along the hinge of the jaw the ones that work so quietly all day long, can release another degree of effort now. You might feel your teeth drift apart just slightly, the tongue settling lower in the mouth, the whole structure of the face growing slack and easy. There's no expression you need to hold here, no readiness you need to maintain. Just the smooth, resting surface of a face at peace. Back at the workbench, the drawer slides closed with a sound so soft it barely registers. Just a whisper of wood against wood. A gentle click as the latch catches. And in the wake of that small sound, the silence seems even deeper, even more complete. The workshop breathes around you. If a room can be said to breathe, its walls and floor and ceiling holding their steady positions while the air moves in its slow, invisible currents. A torque wrench rests on the bench, its handle angled slightly, not quite parallel to the edge. This is the kind of detail that might go unnoticed in the busy hours. But now, in the quiet, it seems worth attending to. A hand reaches out, adjusts the angle by a few degrees, aligns the handle with the grain of the wood beneath it. The wrench is heavier than the sockets, its weight more substantial in the palm, and there's something grounding about that heft. The way it connects you to the surface below, to the solid reality of objects that stay where they're placed. Your shoulders can continue their slow release now, settling deeper into whatever supports them. You might imagine the muscles there as fabric softening in warm water, fibers loosening, tension dissolving into something gentler. The shoulders don't need to hold anything up tonight. The head rests on its own support. The arms lie where they lie, and the shoulders can simply be two slopes of ease, two hills of letting go. Nearby, a soft cloth waits in a loose fold, its fibers slightly napped from use. Someone will use this cloth to wipe a surface clean, to remove the faint traces of fingerprints from a smooth panel, to restore a quiet shine that no one particularly needs, but that feels right nonetheless. The motion of such wiping is slow and circular, the pressure gentle, the cloth gliding over the surface with a sound like a whisper. like a secret being told to no one in particular. And if you were to watch this motion, the slow circle, the gentle pressure, the gradual revealing of a clean surface beneath, you might find your own breathing slowing to match it. The inhale comes as the hand moves one direction. The exhale follows as the hand returns, and the rhythm becomes a kind of partnership between movement and breath, between action and stillness. But you don't need to track this rhythm consciously. You can let it happen in the background, like the hum of the ventilation, like the glow of the lamp. The panel being wiped might belong to the car that rests beneath its cover in the corner. Or it might be a spare part, a practice surface, something removed and waiting to be reinstalled. It doesn't matter which. What matters is the smoothness revealed by the cloth's passage, the way light catches differently on a clean surface, the small satisfaction of care applied to something that will hold that care quietly, without comment. In the earliest days of wondering about electric motion, and this is just a drifting thought, nothing you need to hold on to, people must have noticed small things first. The way a spark could jump a gap, the way a wire could warm when current passed through it, the way a magnet could push or pull without touching. These observations weren't urgent or dramatic. They were simply noticed, the way you might notice the weight of your own hands resting, where they rest, the way you might notice your heartbeat settling into a slower, steadier rhythm as the night deepens around you. But that thought can drift away now, like a cloud passing across a distant sky. The workshop remains. The cloth continues its gentle work, and the silence holds everything in its soft embrace. The workbench is solid beneath whatever rests upon it. The floor is solid beneath the bench. The building is solid around the room, and you are held within all of this solidity, supported and contained, free to rest without effort. A charging cable lies coiled on a lower shelf, its jacket smooth and cool. To check such a cable is a simple thing. Running fingers along its length, feeling for any roughness or wear, confirming that the connector seats properly with that soft, satisfying click. The click itself is barely audible, more felt than heard. A tiny vibration that travels through the fingers and up the arm and settles somewhere in the chest as a small note of completion. Things that connect properly. Things that fit as they were meant to fit. There's a quietness in that fitting, a rightness that asks nothing more. Your hands may feel heavier now, the fingers more relaxed, the palms softer against whatever surface they touch. You might notice the weight of each hand as a distinct sensation, or you might notice only a general heaviness, a sense of the hands being held by gravity rather than holding anything themselves. The wrists can release any last tension. The forearms can grow slack, and the whole length from shoulder to fingertip can become a single continuous slope of ease. The drawer beside the cable shelf holds smaller items, connectors wrapped in soft sleeves, adapters nestled in their compartments, a few spare fuses in a tiny case. To open this drawer is to reveal a kind of quiet order, each item in its place, each place waiting patiently for its item. The organization here isn't rigid or anxious. It's simply the natural result of care applied over time, of things being returned to where they belong until the returning becomes automatic, effortless, a routine so smooth it barely registers as effort at all. And routines like this, the checking, the organizing, the gentle maintenance of order, are the heartbeat of any workshop, any space where careful work happens. Not the dramatic moments, not the breakthroughs or discoveries, but the steady pulse of small actions repeated, small attentions paid, small completions accumulated, like drops of water filling a vessel so slowly that the filling is almost invisible. This is how things are maintained. This is how things endure. But now the thought of maintenance and endurance can settle back down, could become simply another object resting on the shelf of the mind, present but not demanding attention. The workshop holds these thoughts along with everything else it holds. The tools, the cables, the covered car, the soft light and steady hum. Nothing needs to be separated or examined too closely. Everything can simply be together in the quiet. Let your forehead smooth again. If any tension has gathered there, let the space between your eyebrows grow wide and soft. The small muscles around your eyes releasing their vigilance. The eyes can rest behind closed lids, not searching for anything, not tracking any movement. Just two quiet organs at rest. Two soft spheres held gently in their sockets, seeing nothing but the warm darkness of their own stillness. The clock on the wall continues its silent revolution. if it moves at all. Time in this space has a quality of suspension, of stretching, as if the minutes have decided to take their time, to linger rather than rush. You can let your own sense of time grow similarly unhurried, similarly patient. The next moment will arrive when it arrives. The next breath will come when it comes. There's nothing to wait for, nothing to anticipate, only the continuous present unfolding at its own gentle pace. A folded cloth on the corner of the bench catches the edge of the lamp's glow. Its creases soft and rounded from many foldings. To fold such a cloth is a meditation of its own, matching corner to corner, smoothing the fabric flat, folding again, smoothing again, until the cloth becomes a neat square that fits perfectly in its designated spot. The repetition of this action, performed hundreds of times over months and years, wears grooves in the mind, pathways of ease that the hands follow without conscious direction. The body learns what the mind forgets to notice. And your body, too, is learning right now, learning the pathway to rest, the grooves of relaxation that will deepen with each breath, each moment of letting go. The face softens, the jaw releases, the shoulders settle, the hands grow heavy. These are not achievements to be marked or celebrated. They are simply happenings, natural as the cooling of the night air, natural as the steadying of a heartbeat that has nowhere urgent to be. The car beneath its cover remains still, a presence without demand, a shape that holds its own silence. Later, not soon, not urgently, but eventually, there might be more to notice about that shape, about the ideas and efforts that brought it into being. But for now, it simply rests, and you simply rest, and the workshop simply holds you both in its patient, amber-lit embrace. The ventilation fan continues its slow turning, moving air that doesn't need to be moved, maintaining a balance that maintains itself. The lamp continues its patient glow, illuminating a circle that illuminates nothing urgent. The night continues its long, unhurried passage toward morning, carrying you with it like a boat on a still river, drifting without effort toward whatever lies ahead. Your feet can rest now, wherever they are, feeling the support beneath them or simply feeling their own weight, their own quiet presence at the end of your legs. The steadiness of feet, even at rest, is a kind of anchor, a reminder that you are connected to something solid, something that holds you without asking to be held in return. And in that steadiness, in that holding, the quietest thoughts can begin to surface. Thoughts about beginnings, about the first small sparks of curiosity that eventually grow into something larger. Not tonight, not yet, but soon there will be time to drift along those early pathways, to imagine the seed of an idea before it knew what it might become. For now, the workshop rests, and you rest within it. And somewhere in the stillness, the first faint stirrings of a story wait patiently to unfold. Before it had a name, the workshop remains as it was, the task lamp holding its soft circle of light, the ventilation fan turning with that same unhurried patience it has held all through the night. The covered car rests in its corner. The coiled cables wait on their shelves, and the air carries that familiar blend of coolness near the doors and warmth near the bench. Nothing has changed here, and nothing needs to change. The stillness simply continues, holding space for whatever thoughts might drift through. And drifting now, in this quietest part of the night, there's room to wonder about beginnings. Not the kind of beginnings that announce themselves with fanfare, but the softer kind, the curiosity that stirs in a mind before it knows what it's curious about, the questions that form slowly, like condensation gathering on a cool surface, somewhere, at some point that doesn't need to be pinpointed precisely. A few people began to wonder about motion and energy, about the quiet hum of electric current, about machines that might move without the rumble and exhaust of what came before. Let your chest soften now, if you haven't already. The rib cage can release its subtle holding. The muscles between the ribs can lengthen and ease, and the breath can find more room to move. You don't need to breathe deeply unless that feels natural. Just let the chest become a little more spacious, a little more willing to expand and contract without effort. The breath knows its own rhythm. The lungs know their own capacity. You can trust them to do what they've always done. In small garages and quiet workshops, not so different from this one, people have always tinkered with ideas. A workbench with a few tools, a notebook open to a blank page, a pencil waiting to sketch something that doesn't exist yet. The scratch of graphite on paper is one of the softest sounds in the world, a whisper of possibility, a line appearing where there was only white space before. And in that scratching, in that slow emergence of shape from blankness, there's a kind of hope that doesn't need to be dramatic. Just the simple wish to make something, to solve something, to see if an idea might work. The people who first gathered around the notion of building electric cars were drawn by practical questions, not grand visions. What if a car could be quiet? What if it could run on electricity stored in batteries? Energy that could be replenished without combustion, without the complexity of pistons and fuel lines? These were not revolutionary questions in the way that word is sometimes used. They were simply curious questions, the kind that lead to experiments, to sketches, to late nights in workshops much like this one. But now let that thought settle, like a tool placed gently on the bench. The workshop holds you still. The lamp glows its patient amber, and the night continues its slow passage. A drawer rests closed, its contents undisturbed. A cloth lies folded in its corner. The silence is not empty, but full. Full of all the small presences that make a space feel lived in and cared for. Your belly can soften now. The muscles of the abdomen releasing whatever tension they've been holding. You might notice the breath moving lower, filling not just the chest, but the softer space below the ribs. The area that rises and falls with such gentle rhythm when the body is truly at rest. Let the belly be round and easy, not held and not braced against anything, just soft, just present, just breathing. In those early days of wondering, there were notebooks filled with calculations, pages of numbers and diagrams that meant something to the people who wrote them and might mean very little to anyone else. But the notebooks themselves, the physical objects, the paper and binding and the way they lay open on a desk, these are the kind of details that ground a memory in something real. A notebook with a worn cover, a page marked with a small coffee ring, a pencil tucked into the spiral binding, Its eraser worn down to a nub. These are the textures of thinking, the ordinary surfaces on which extraordinary patience does its quiet work. The wish for machines that feel clean was part of it, too. Not clean in a sterile way, but clean in the sense of simplicity, of fewer moving parts, of energy that flows without burning. Someone, somewhere, noticed the way an electric motor hums. That steady, almost musical tone, so different from the clattering of combustion. And in noticing that hum, they wondered what it might be like to ride in a vehicle powered by such a sound. To move through the world accompanied not by roar, but by whisper. Let your back soften now. The long muscles along the spine, releasing their vigilance. The back works so hard during the day, holding the body upright, supporting the weight of the head and shoulders, maintaining posture through countless small adjustments. But now, with the body horizontal or reclined, the back can let go of that work. The spine can settle into its natural curves, supported by whatever surface holds you, each vertebra resting quietly on its neighbor, like stones stacked by a patient hand. The fan in the workshop continues its turning, and somewhere in the memory of those early tinkerers, fans were spinning too. Cooling motors that had been tested, ventilating spaces where prototypes sat waiting for their next adjustment. The sound of a fan spinning down, slowing from its working speed to stillness, is one of those small sounds that marks a transition from effort to rest, from activity to pause. You might imagine such a sound now, the gradual deceleration, the widening gaps between each rotation, until finally the blades stop altogether and only silence remains. A small group of people, drawn together by shared curiosity, began to meet in spaces not so different from this workshop. They brought different skills. Some understood batteries. Others understood motors. Others understood the 1,000 small details of building something that needed to carry people safely from one place to another. None of them were mythic figures in those moments. They were simply people with questions. People willing to try things that might not work. People patient enough to fail and adjust and try again. Your hips can release now, the joints settling deeper into the surface beneath you. The hip flexors, Those muscles that do so much work in walking and sitting and climbing can lengthen and soften. The pelvis can feel heavy, anchored, held by gravity in a way that requires no effort from you. Let the whole bowl of the pelvis become a still vessel, a container of quietness, the foundation from which the spine rises and the legs extend. In those quiet garages and borrowed workspaces, there were moments of reading, manuals for motors, specifications for battery cells, research papers photocopied and highlighted. The act of reading in a workshop is different from reading in a library. It's accompanied by the smell of metal and lubricant, by the presence of tools within arm's reach, by the knowledge that what's being read might soon be tested, built, made real. A finger traces a line of text, pauses, returns to trace it again. Understanding comes slowly, in layers, like paint applied, coat by coat, until the color deepens into something true. But you don't need to understand any of this deeply tonight. The details can remain soft-edged, impressionistic, like a watercolor painting, where the shapes suggest rather than define. What matters is not the technical content, but the feeling, the quietness of concentration, the warmth of a lamp on a page, the cool night air that seeps in through a cracked window, the sense of time suspended while the mind works on something it cares about. The workshop around you holds that same feeling now. The lamp glows. The air moves in its gentle currents. The covered car waits without impatience. And the tools rest in their places. And the notebooks that might be scattered on some imagined desk hold their scribbled thoughts patiently, asking nothing of you, expecting nothing. Let your breath settle into the lowest part of the torso now. The space below the navel, the deep belly that moves so subtly with each inhale and exhale. This is the breath of sleep, the breath of complete rest, slow, low, almost imperceptible. You don't need to watch it or guide it. Just let it happen. The way the tide happens, the way the moon moves across the sky. Natural, inevitable, effortless. The seeds of ideas are planted in moments that often go unnoticed. A sketch that doesn't look like much. A question asked over coffee. A paragraph in a textbook that sparks something in a reader's mind. The people who would eventually build electric cars didn't know, in those early moments, what what their wondering would grow into. They only knew that they were curious, that the questions felt worth asking, that the work felt worth doing, and that simple worthiness, the feeling that something matters enough to spend time on, is its own kind of fuel, quieter than gasoline, steadier than any battery. But now the past can close like a notebook gently laid on the bench, its pages full of half-formed thoughts, its cover soft from handling. The workshop accepts this notebook, along with everything else it holds. The tools, the cables, the covered shape in the corner, the stillness that has gathered through the night. You are here, resting within this space, and the space rests within the larger quiet of the night, and all of it is held by something too large to name. Your chest rises and falls. Your belly softens with each exhale. Your back is supported. Your hips are heavy. And the whole length of your torso feels like a single continuous landscape of ease. Hills and valleys of softness. Terrain that asks nothing and receives everything. The clock on the wall holds its silence, the minutes passing without announcement. And somewhere in that passage, in the gentle drift of time, there's the faint promise of what comes next. The first experiments, the tiny wins, the small confirmations that an idea might actually work. But that promise can wait. Everything can wait. For now, there is only this, the lamp, the hum, the breath, the quiet workshop holding you like a cupped hand holds water. Gently, carefully, with no intention of letting go. Quiet rows of cells. The workshop continues its quiet holding. The same amber light pooling on the same wooden bench. The same ventilation, hum filling the space between sounds with its patient, unvarying tone. The covered car rests in its corner, unchanged, and the tools lie where they were placed, and the night outside the windows has deepened without anyone needing to notice. You are still here, still resting, still held by this stillness that asks nothing and offers everything. And in this stillness, there's room to imagine a time when the first experiments began. Not dramatic trials, not urgent races against anything, but simply the slow process of trying something and seeing what happened. A workbench not so different from this one. perhaps a little more cluttered with the evidence of ongoing work. A few people gathered around a project that didn't yet know what it would become. The soft scratch of notes being written, the quiet click of a connection being tested. Let your chest continue its softening now, the breath moving a little deeper with each cycle, the ribs expanding and contracting with that gentle rhythm that belongs to rest. You might notice the exhale growing slightly longer than the inhale, a natural lengthening that happens when the body feels safe, when there's nothing to brace against, nothing to prepare for, just the slow release of air, and then the pause, and then the next breath arriving in its own time. The earliest battery packs were assembled with care, quiet rows of cells arranged in patterns that made sense to the people building them. Each cell was a small cylinder, not so different from the batteries that power flashlights and remote controls, but gathered together in numbers that multiplied their capacity. To look at such an arrangement was to see potential stored in stillness, energy waiting to be called upon, power resting quietly until needed. The hum of the ventilation in this workshop carries something of that same quality. Steady presence, patient readiness, no urgency at all. A technician in those early days might have spent hours on a single connection, checking and rechecking, making sure the wiring was secure, the polarity correct, the insulation intact. Check, note, adjust, recheck. The rhythm of such work is its own kind of meditation. Each repetition slightly different from the last, but following the same essential pattern. A hand reaches for a tool, uses it, returns it to its place. A pen marks a checkbox on a form. The pen is capped, the form is set aside, and the next task begins. Your belly can soften further now, the muscles of the abdomen releasing whatever residual tension they might still hold. Let the breath fill that soft space. Let the belly rise gently with each inhale and fall with each exhale, like a tide that has forgotten how to hurry. The belly is the center of the body, the place where breath and stillness meet, and when it softens completely, the whole body seems to follow, loosening, settling, sinking deeper into rest. In the early days of building what would eventually become an electric sports car, there were no dramatic moments of revelation. There was only the steady accumulation of small adjustments. Tiny wins that barely registered as wins at all. a motor that ran a little smoother after a modification, a battery pack that held its charge a little longer after a tweak to the management system, a frame that fit together a little more precisely after the measurements were refined. None of these improvements announced themselves with fanfare. They simply happened quietly in workshops where people paid attention to details. But now let that thought settle, like a cloth folded and placed on the corner of the bench. The workshop holds you still. The lamp continues its glow. And somewhere in the building, a thermostat clicks softly, maintaining a balance that maintains itself. These small sounds, the click, the hum, the occasional creak of a building at rest, are the sounds of a world that tends to itself, that doesn't need your attention or effort. You can let them wash over you like water over smooth stones, present but not demanding. A cloth is lifted from the bench, used to wipe a surface clean, then folded once, twice, 3 times, and placed precisely where it belongs. The motion of wiping is slow and circular, the pressure gentle, and the sound is barely a sound at all. Just the soft friction of fabric against metal, a whisper of care applied to something that will hold that care quietly. The tool that was used is returned to its drawer. The drawer is closed with a soft click, and there's a pause, a breath of stillness before the next small task begins. Your back can continue its release now. The long muscles along the spine letting go of whatever holding they've maintained. The vertebrae can settle into their natural alignment, each one resting on the one below. The whole column supported by the surface beneath you. There's nothing to hold up, nothing to brace. The back can simply be a landscape of ease, hills and valleys of muscle that have remembered how to rest. The early electric sports car, the one that would eventually be called the Roadster, though the name matters less than the feeling, was built through countless iterations of this same patient process. A component was installed, tested, evaluated, and often removed and replaced with something slightly better. The people doing this work weren't racing toward a finish line. They were simply trying to make something work, and then trying to make it work a little better, and then a little better still. Progress measured not in leaps, but in inches. Growth so gradual it was almost invisible. Quiet rows of cells, like quiet rows of tools on a bench, stored potential, patient waiting. The battery packs in those early experiments held their charge in darkness, energy resting in chemical stillness until the moment it was called into motion. And even then, the motion was smooth, the acceleration quiet, the hum of the motor replacing the roar that other cars required. There was something almost restful about it, even in motion. A machine that moved without shouting. Let your hips sink deeper now, the joints releasing, the pelvis growing heavy against whatever supports it. The hip flexors can lengthen. The muscles of the thighs can soften. And the whole lower body can feel anchored, grounded, held by gravity in a way that requires nothing from you. The hips are the foundation of so much movement. And when they rest completely, the stillness spreads upward and downward, filling the body with quietude. Another loop of small tasks. A cable is coiled, each loop laid carefully beside the last. The coils even and neat. The connector at the end is checked. A soft click as it's tested in a port, confirming that it seats properly, that the connection is sound. The click is barely audible, more felt than heard. A tiny vibration of completion that travels through the fingers. The cable is placed on its shelf, and there's a pause, a breath, a moment of nothing happening at all. The satisfaction in such moments isn't the satisfaction of achievement, not the kind that asks to be celebrated or announced. It's something quieter than that. The satisfaction of alignment, of things fitting as they should, of a surface wiped clean, a tool returned to its place, a checkbox marked. Completion without fanfare, rightness without effort, the kind of satisfaction that settles into the body like warmth, like rest, like the slow deepening of breath as the night continues its passage. A pen is uncapped, a note is written, just a few words, maybe a number, something to record what was done and what was observed. The pen is capped again, the soft click of the cap seating against the barrel, and then the pen is placed beside the notebook, parallel to its edge, lined without fussiness. These small alignments are the grammar of careful work, the punctuation that separates one task from the next, creating rhythm where there might otherwise be chaos. Your exhale can lengthen a little more now, the release of breath becoming even slower even more complete. You might notice a pause at the bottom of the exhale, a moment of stillness before the next inhale begins. This is the pause of deep rest, the gap between breaths where everything stops and nothing is needed. Let that pause expand if it wants to, or let it remain brief. Either way, the breath continues, the rhythm holds, and you continue your slow drift toward whatever sleep feels like for you. The first roadsters that eventually emerged from those early experiments were not perfect. They were the result of trial and error, of problems encountered and solved, of compromises made and lessons learned. But the people who built them weren't troubled by this imperfection. They understood that everything begins roughly, that the first version of anything is just a starting point, a foundation on which to build. Perfection, if it exists at all, comes later, or perhaps it never comes, and what comes instead is simply good enough, which is often enough. But now the thought of those early cars can settle back into the stillness like a shape beneath a cover, like a notebook closed on a bench. The workshop holds the memory without needing to examine it, the way a shelf holds a tool without needing to use it. Everything has its place, everything rests, and the night continues its long, unhurried unfolding. Wipe, fold, place. Tighten, mark, cap. Coil, check. Set aside. Breathe. The loops of small tasks continue in imagination, each one slightly different from the last, each one leading to the same quiet pause at the end. These are the rhythms of work that loves what it does, of attention paid not because it must be, but because it wants to be. And in that wanting, in that willing attention, there's a kind of rest, even within the work. A steadiness that doesn't tire. A focus that doesn't strain. The prototype beneath its cover hasn't moved, hasn't changed. It holds its shape in the darkness, patient as everything else in this room, waiting for nothing, because there's nothing to wait for. Tomorrow, or some other day, it doesn't matter when, there will be more work, more checking, more small adjustments. But tonight there is only stillness, only the orderly bench, and the folded cloth, and the capped pen, and the coiled cable, and the soft, steady hum of the fan that never stops, never varies, never asks for anything at all. Your chest rises and falls. Your belly softens with each exhale. Your back is held, your hips are heavy, and somewhere beneath all of this, your heartbeat continues its own patient rhythm, slow and steady. The quietest drum in the quietest room in the quietest night. And beyond this stillness, just at the edge of imagining, there's a sense of what comes next. The slow growth that follows early experiments. The gentle turning points that arrive not with drama, but with the simple recognition that something is working. Something is taking shape. Something is becoming what it was always going to become. But that recognition can wait. Everything can wait. The night is long. The workshop is quiet. And you are resting still. Where the rhythm found itself. The workshop holds its stillness as it has all through the night. The amber lamp unchanged. The ventilation hum unchanged. The covered car resting in its corner like something that has always been there and will always be there. The air carries its familiar blend of coolness and warmth, and the tools lie where they were placed, and the night outside continues its slow passage toward a morning that feels very far away. You are still here, still resting, still held. And in this holding, there's room to imagine a longer span of time, not measured in minutes or hours, but in seasons, in the gentle turning of one year into the next, in the gradual way that something small becomes something larger, without anyone noticing the exact moment of change. Growth like this doesn't announce itself. It simply accumulates. The way dust gathers on a surface, the way a path wears into grass from feet that walk the same way each day. Let your chest settle even deeper now, the breath moving slowly, the ribs barely lifting with each inhale. The exhale can lengthen further, a long, slow release that seems to empty not just the lungs, but something deeper. Tension you didn't know you were holding, effort you forgot you were making. Let it go. Let it all go. The breath will return when it's ready. And until then, there's only this soft emptiness, this quiet pause. After the early experiments, after the first small cars were built and tested and refined, there came a time of patient expansion. The people who had gathered around this work continued their routines, checking, adjusting, improving, but now the work had a slightly different quality. It was no longer about proving that something could work at all. It was about making what worked become simpler, more repeatable, more calm. A sedan emerged from this period, a larger car than the first, designed not for those who wanted something unusual, but for those who simply wanted a good car that happened to run on electricity. The design was clean, the lines smooth, the interior quiet, in the way that electric cars are quiet. No engine rumble, no vibration from combustion, just the soft hum of systems doing their work without complaint. To sit in such a car was to sit in a kind of stillness, even while moving, a pocket of peace traveling through the world. But now let that image settle, like a shape seen through fog, there and then softening, there and then fading. The workshop remains, the lamp glows, and somewhere a drawer rests closed, its contents undisturbed. The covered car in the corner might be any car from any era. It doesn't need to be specified, doesn't need to be examined. It's simply a presence, a shape at rest, a reminder that things can be still even when they hold the potential for motion. Your belly can soften further now, the muscles releasing whatever last holding they've maintained. Let the breath sink low, filling that soft space below the ribs, and let the exhale be slow, unhurried, complete. The belly rises. The belly falls. The rhythm is ancient, older than any machine, older than any technology. The body knows this rhythm, has always known it. As the seasons passed, certain processes became smoother. A production step that once required many hands and much attention gradually simplified. The movements becoming more efficient, the outcomes more predictable. This wasn't a sudden breakthrough. It was more like water finding its level, like a stream wearing a channel through soft stone. The path of least effort, discovered through repetition, through patience, through the willingness to do something 1,000 times until it became easy. A quiet corridor in a building somewhere, late at night, soft overhead lights casting even illumination on a polished floor. A clipboard hanging on a wall, its checklist mostly complete. Small marks, in small boxes indicating tasks done, systems checked, routines observed. Someone walks this corridor, their footsteps soft, their pace unhurried. They pause at a window, look out at the night, and then continue on. Nothing dramatic, nothing urgent, just the quiet passing of time in a place where work happens and then rests. The workshop holds you still. The hum continues. The air moves in its gentle currents, and you can let your awareness settle here, in this anchor place, this home base that has remained constant through all the imagining of other times and other spaces. The bench is solid. The lamp is warm. The night is deep. Your back can release another degree of holding now. The muscles along the spine softening like wax warming near a flame. The vertebrae settle. The shoulders sink. The whole structure of the torso becomes less like a structure and more like a landscape. Hills and valleys of softness. Terrain that holds nothing up because nothing needs to be held. Just rest. Just settling. Just this. One of the quiet turning points came when charging became routine. In the early days, finding a place to replenish an electric car's battery required planning, attention, a certain amount of effort. But gradually, a network of charging stations spread, not dramatically, not all at once, but in the steady way that conveniences accumulate when enough people work on them long enough. A station here, another there, and then more, until stopping to charge became no more remarkable than stopping for any other reason. But the word network can settle now. The concept dissolving back into the simpler reality of this workshop. This night, a cable coiled on a shelf. A connector that clicks softly when it seats. The hum of ventilation that has never wavered. These are the only networks that matter right now. The connections between breath and body, between rest and stillness, between you and the surface that holds you. Let your hips grow heavier still, sinking into whatever supports them. The joints can release completely, the pelvis resting like a bowl, set down on a table, still and stable and asking nothing. The weight of the hips is a kind of anchor, holding you here, preventing drift, allowing everything above and below to settle around that central heaviness. More models came as the years turned. An everyday car, smaller than the sedan, designed for ordinary errands and ordinary commutes. Then another, shaped differently, suited for different needs. Each one emerged from the same patient process, sketches becoming prototypes, prototypes becoming refinements, refinements becoming something that people could drive and use and rely upon. The names of these models don't matter for the purposes of rest. What matters is the feeling of something becoming more itself over time, becoming simpler, cleaner, more aligned with what it was always trying to be. A design becoming simpler. That's one of the quiet turning points that rarely gets noticed, but matters more than many dramatic events. When someone realizes that a part isn't needed, that a step can be skipped, that a complexity can be removed without losing anything important, this is a kind of progress that doesn't make noise. It just makes things easier, lighter, more calm. The workshop at night holds this same quality of simplicity. Nothing here is extra. The lamp provides light where light is needed. The ventilation moves air where air needs to move. The tools rest in their places, ready but not demanding. The covered car waits without impatience. Everything has been refined over time to just what's necessary. No more, no less. Your chest rises, falls. The breath has found its own slow rhythm now, a rhythm that doesn't need your attention or guidance. The exhale lengthens. A pause follows. The inhale returns, soft, easy, like something that could continue forever without effort. Fragments of other quiet scenes drift through the imagination. A worker wiping down a surface at the end of a shift. The motion slow and thorough. A clipboard hung on its hook. The day's tasks complete. A door closing softly. Footsteps receding down a corridor. The click of a light switch. And then darkness. And then stillness. These are the moments between the moments, the transitions that no one records, but everyone experiences. The ordinary endings that make space for rest. Production, when it reaches a certain steadiness, becomes almost invisible. The parts arrive, the assembly happens, the cars emerge, and the rhythm of it becomes so regular that it stops feeling like effort. This is what all work aspires to. Eventually, the state where things flow without forcing, where output follows input as naturally as exhale follows inhale. Not effortless in the sense of requiring no one's attention, but effortless in the sense of moving with rather than against. But now the thought of production can fade, can dissolve like morning mist, leaving only the workshop, the lamp, the hum, a drawer closed, a cloth folded, a cable coiled, the night deep and quiet around everything, holding everything, asking nothing. Your body is heavy now, pleasantly heavy. The kind of heavy that comes from letting go completely, from trusting the surface beneath you to hold your weight, from releasing the last subtle efforts of staying alert. The face is soft, the jaw is loose, the shoulders have settled, the chest rises and falls without effort. The belly softens with each exhale. The back is supported. The hips are anchored. All of it held. All of it resting. The gentle turning points in any long endeavor are often invisible while they're happening. It's only later, looking back from some quiet vantage point, that someone might notice, here is where things got simpler. Here is where the rhythm found itself. Here is where the struggle softened into flow. And even then, the noticing doesn't need to be precise. It can be soft-edged, impressionistic, a feeling more than a fact, a sense more than a certainty. The workshop remains. The hum continues. The covered car holds its shape beneath its cloth, patient as ever, still as stone. The lamp casts its amber circle, and within that circle, the bench waits, the tools rest, and the night goes on, unhurried, unworried, complete in its incompleteness. And somewhere at the edge of this stillness, barely formed, there's a sense of what might come next. The soft challenges that any endeavor faces, the values that keep people steady, the quiet determination to stay the course, even when the course grows long. But that sense doesn't need to sharpen into thought. It can remain a whisper, a hint, a promise held loosely. The night is still deep. The rest is still deepening. And you are still here, breathing slowly, held gently, drifting further into the quiet that has been waiting for you all along, listening for small sounds. The workshop holds its stillness, the lamp glowing as it has all night, the hum continuing its patient rhythm. Nothing has changed here. Nothing needs to change. And in this unchanging space, there's room to acknowledge something true about any long endeavor. There are moments when things don't go smoothly. Not dramatic moments, not crises that demand alarm, but simply the small interruptions that are part of any work that continues over time. A part arrives late. A process needs refinement. A night is spent rechecking something that was thought to be complete. These are not failures. They're simply part of the rhythm, the way that rest is part of the rhythm of waking, the way that exhale is part of the rhythm of breath. It's okay if your attention drifts now. You don't need to follow every thought, every image, every word. The story will continue whether you track it or not, and your only task, if it can even be called a task, is to rest, to let the meaning soften at the edges, to let the words wash over you like the hum of the ventilation, present but not demanding. Let your legs begin to settle now, the long muscles of the thighs releasing whatever tension they've carried. The legs work so hard during waking hours, walking, climbing, standing, balancing, and now they can simply rest, held by the surface beneath them, heavy and warm and still. You might notice the weight of each leg as a distinct sensation, or you might notice only a general heaviness spreading downward from the hips. Either way, the legs are resting. The legs are held. In any workshop where careful work happens, there are nights when the routine is simply rechecking. Someone moves through the space with a clipboard, pausing at each station, confirming that things are as they should be. A connector is tested. It clicks softly, properly seated. A label is read, compared against a list, found to match. A surface is wiped, even though it's already clean. Because wiping is part of the routine, and routines have value beyond their immediate function. They create rhythm. They create calm. The values that sustain any long endeavor are rarely dramatic. They're more like habits than proclamations. The habit of patience when something takes longer than expected. The habit of checking twice when once might be enough. The habit of listening for small sounds that might indicate something needs attention. These habits don't make headlines. They simply accumulate day after day until they become the character of the work itself, the quiet foundation on which everything else rests. Your calves can soften now. The muscles at the back of the lower legs releasing their holding. These muscles, which do so much to stabilize and propel, can let go completely. The calves grow heavy, warm, relaxed. You might feel a tingling as the tension releases, or you might feel nothing at all except a deepening sense of rest. Either is fine. Both are fine. Everything is fine. Sometimes a process needs refinement, not because it was wrong, but because understanding has deepened, because someone has noticed a way to make something simpler or more consistent. This kind of refinement is not correction, it's care. The willingness to look again at something that's already working and ask whether it could work a little better, a little more smoothly, with a little less effort. This is one of the quiet values that sustains good work. The patience to improve what isn't broken, to polish what's already smooth. But now that thought can settle, can soften, can dissolve back into the simple reality of the workshop. The bench is solid, the lamp is warm, the air moves gently, and somewhere a clock continues its silent revolution, marking time that doesn't need to be marked. You can let your sense of time grow even softer now, even less defined. The minutes don't matter. The hours will pass whether you count them or not. A cable is coiled, loop by loop, each loop laid gently beside the last. The hands that do this work have done it many times before, and the motion has become automatic, effortless, a kind of meditation in action. Coil, settle, coil, settle. The cable grows into a neat spiral, and when the coiling is complete, the hands rest, and there's a pause, a breath, a moment of stillness before anything else needs to happen. Let your feet relax now, the muscles and tendons and small bones settling into their resting position. The feet carry so much weight during the day, bear so much pressure with each step, and now they can simply be held by the surface beneath them, supported completely, asking nothing and receiving everything. You might feel warmth in the soles of the feet, or a pleasant heaviness in the arches. Let whatever sensation is there be there, without needing to change it or understand it. The quiet discipline of making something consistent is one of the hardest things to maintain. because it lacks the excitement of novelty. To do the same careful work day after day, with the same attention to detail, the same willingness to check and recheck, this requires a steadiness that doesn't celebrate itself. The workers who maintain this discipline are rarely recognized for it, because the result of their work is simply that things continue to work. No drama, no heroics, just the ongoing hum of systems functioning as they should. You can drift now if you want to. You can let the words become sounds. The sounds become rhythm. The rhythm becomes something that doesn't need to be understood at all. The story holds you whether you follow it or not. The workshop holds you whether you see it clearly or not. The night holds you, and your breath holds you, and the surface beneath you holds you, and all of this holding asks nothing in return. Sometimes there's a night when something needs special attention, a careful rechecking night, when a team moves through a process step by step, confirming that everything is as it should be. These nights are not anxious, not rushed. They're simply thorough. A question is asked. An answer is found. A note is made. Another question. Another answer. Another note. The rhythm of such work is its own kind of peace. Methodical, unhurried, complete. The workshop bench might need wiping at the end of such a night, not because it's dirty, but because wiping is part of closing down, part of the transition from work to rest. The cloth moves in slow circles, and the surface beneath it seems to soften under the attention, as if the bench itself is grateful for the care. Then the cloth is folded, once, twice, and placed in its spot, and the tools are returned to their places, and the notes are gathered into a neat stack, and everything is ready for tomorrow, or for whenever tomorrow comes. Your legs are heavy now. Your calves have released. Your feet are resting. The arch is soft. The toes uncurl. The whole length from hip to heel feels like one continuous slope of ease. Anchored at the hips, grounded at the feet, everything between simply existing without effort. Safety checks are part of the quiet values. 2, the habit of confirming that things are secure, that connections are sound, that nothing has been overlooked. These checks aren't performed out of fear, but out of care. The same care that leads someone to tuck a blanket around a sleeping child, to test a door handle before leaving the house, to glance back once more before turning off the light. Care expressed through small actions. Attention paid through simple routines. But you don't need to pay attention now. You can let the attention soften. Let the focus blur. Let the meaning of these words dissolve into something simpler. Just sounds, just rhythm, just presence. The workshop is here. You are here. The night continues. The hum of the ventilation is the same hum it has always been. Steady and patient and asking nothing. The lamp glows its amber glow. The covered car rests in its corner, unchanged, unmoving, complete in its stillness. If there were challenges during the day, they have settled now. If there were questions, they have quieted. If there were tasks, they have been completed and set aside. This is what the night is for. The setting aside, the letting go, the return to simpleness. Your breath moves in its slow rhythm. Your body is heavy and warm and held. The night stretches out in all directions, and somewhere within it, without urgency, without demand, there will be time to imagine other things. The everyday rituals of ordinary use, the calm routines of lives lived with these quiet machines. But that imagining can wait. Everything can wait. Listening for small sounds. That's one of the values worth holding. The willingness to be quiet enough to hear what's actually there. A faint click. A soft hum. A gentle settling. In a workshop, these sounds tell stories. In a body at rest, these sounds tell stories too. The rhythm of the heart, the whisper of the breath, the occasional creak of a joint releasing its last tension. You can listen to your own small sounds now, if you like. Or you can let them fade into the background, present but not attended to. The night workshop is steady. The night workshop is safe. The tools are in their places. The cables are coiled. The bench is wiped clean. And the air moves in its gentle currents. And you are here, resting within this stillness, held by this quiet, drifting further and further into ease. And somewhere beyond this moment, soft and unhurried, there are other quiet scenes waiting. Mornings when someone unplugs a car that charged through the night. Evenings when someone returns home and lets the silence settle around them. Ordinary moments made gentler by machines that hum instead of roar. But those scenes will come when they come. For now, there is only this, the workshop, the hum, the breath, the rest that deepens with each passing moment, the comfort of repeated steps. The workshop rests as it has all night, the lamp still glowing, the hum still holding. You are still here, still held. And from this stillness, there's room to imagine the quieter moments that happen beyond the workshop, the ordinary rituals that unfold in driveways and parking lots and garages, the small routines that have become familiar to people who live with these quiet machines. Not dramatic moments, not milestones or achievements, just the simple repetition of steps that have been taken many times before, until the taking becomes almost invisible. A driveway at night. The air is cool. The stars, perhaps visible, perhaps hidden behind a soft layer of cloud. A car sits in its usual spot. Its shape familiar. Its presence unremarkable. Someone approaches with a charging cable in hand. The connector cool and smooth. And there's that soft click as it seats. A sound so small it barely registers. A completion so minor it asks for no acknowledgement. Just the cable connecting. Just the faint glow of an indicator light, too dim to disturb anything. Just bright enough to confirm that things are as they should be. Step back. Breathe. Notice the quiet. You can let your legs grow heavier now. The whole length from hip to ankle sinking deeper into rest. The thighs are soft. The knees have released. The calves are warm and heavy, and the feet are held. And all of it, all the standing and walking and climbing of waking life, can be set aside now The legs have done their work. The legs can rest. The person in the driveway doesn't linger. They step back from the car, feel the cool night air on their face, and turn toward the house. Maybe they pause for a moment at the door, looking back at the quiet shape of the vehicle, the faint glow of the charging indicator. Maybe they don't. It doesn't matter. What matters is the ritual itself, the plug-in, the step back, the return to warmth. Familiar, unremarkable, complete. Inside the house, a jacket is folded or perhaps just draped over a chair. Someone sits, exhales, lets the thoughts of the day begin to drift, the edges softening, the details blurring. This is the transition time, this space between activity and rest, the doorway through which sleep approaches. You are in that doorway now. It too have been for some time. The threshold is soft, and you can cross it whenever you're ready. Or you can stay here in the in-between. Either is fine. A quiet commute, remembered or imagined. The cabin of the car is still, the road unwinding ahead. The streetlights sliding by in their patient rhythm. One, then another, each one casting a brief glow through the windows before falling behind. The hum of the motor is so soft it might not be there at all, and the world outside passes in silence, muffled by glass and distance and the gentle insulation of the car's interior. It's okay to miss details now. The story doesn't need your attention. The words don't need your understanding. They can simply be sounds, rhythms, presences that wash over you without requiring anything in return. Let the meaning soften. Let the images blur. Let everything become gentler, slower, less defined. Your feet can release completely now, the arches softening, the toes uncurling, the soles resting against whatever surface holds them. The feet are the foundation of so much movement, and when they rest completely, the stillness seems to spread upward through the whole body. A rising tide of ease that reaches the calves, the knees, the thighs, the hips, and continues on. Heaviness everywhere, warmth everywhere, rest. A service visit, imagine softly, a quiet waiting area with a warm lamp, a chair that holds the body comfortably, a window looking out onto a service bay where nothing urgent happens. Someone sits there, patient, unhurried, perhaps with a magazine open on their lap, or perhaps with nothing at all, just the soft presence of waiting. The sounds from the bay are muffled. A gentle clink, a soft footstep, the murmur of voices too distant to understand. Nothing that demands attention, nothing that requires response. The technician passes, catches the eye of the person waiting, offers a small nod, a soft acknowledgement, a quiet thank you in return. And then the technician continues on, and the waiting continues, and the silence resettles like dust after a door is closed. Human contact so brief it barely registers. Warmth exchanged in the smallest possible gesture, and then solitude again. Stillness again. The clipboard on the wall holds its checklist. Items marked and unmarked. Tasks in progress and tasks complete. But the details of the checklist don't matter. What matters is the rhythm of the place, the quiet competence, the unhurried attention, the sense that things are being cared for in the background, while the foreground remains peaceful. Your whole body is heavy now. The legs, the hips, the back, the belly, the chest, the shoulders, the arms, the hands. All of it held, all of it resting. The weight of the body is a gift, an anchor, a connection to the surface beneath you that asks nothing and gives everything. You can feel held by this weight, grounded by it, safe within it. Plug in. Notice the glow. Step back. Breathe. Fold the jacket. Sit down. Exhale. Let thoughts drift. These are the rituals of everyday life, with a quiet machine so simple they barely qualify as rituals, so familiar they happen without thought. Success in this context isn't a celebration. It's just familiarity. The comfort of steps repeated until they become invisible. The ease of things that work the way they're supposed to work. Day after day, without drama or surprise. The streetlights slide by. One, then another. The road unwinds. The cabin holds its stillness, and the world outside passes in its gentle blur. And there's nothing to do but be present, be still, be carried forward by something that requires no effort from you. Your calves are warm and soft. Your feet are resting. The muscles that have worked so hard to carry you through waking life have released their effort. And what remains is just the body at ease, just the form at rest, just the breath moving in and out without any need for guidance or attention. A driveway at night, a parking lot at dusk, a garage in the early morning before the day has fully begun. These are the quiet stages on which the rituals unfold. Ordinary places, made gentle by repetition. Familiar spaces where nothing remarkable happens except the ongoing continuation of life itself. The person in the waiting area stands eventually, stretches slightly, walks to the window to look out at the service bay. A car is being attended to, its hood perhaps open. A technician leaning in with quiet focus. The work being done is invisible from this distance. Just the posture of attention, the patience of someone doing something carefully. And then the hood closes softly, and the technician steps back, and there's that small satisfaction again. Completion, rightness, things as they should be. Soft sounds, soft light, soft air moving in gentle currents. You don't need to follow any of this. You can let the images drift past like clouds, like leaves on slow water, like the street lights sliding by outside a car window. Present and then gone. Here and then fading. Nothing that needs to be held. The night workshop waits, unchanged. The lamp glows. The hum continues. The covered car rests in its corner. The tools rest on the bench, and the cables rest coiled on their shelves, and everything is as it was, as it has been, as it will continue to be through the remaining hours of the night. You can return here now to this anchor place, this home base. You can settle back into its stillness, its safety, its quiet holding. The rituals of everyday life continue somewhere beyond this room. Driveways and commutes and waiting areas, cables clicked in and indicators glowing, soft nods exchanged, and soft thanks offered. But here, in the workshop, there is only rest, only stillness, only the deep quiet of after hours. When all the work is done and all that remains is the patient waiting for morning. Your body is heavy and warm. Your breath is slow and soft. The night holds you, and the stillness holds you, and somewhere ahead, without urgency, there will be time for reflection, for the gentle gathering of all that has drifted through this long night, a settling, a completing, a fade into sleep so deep it doesn't know its own name. But that reflection can wait. That settling can wait. For now, there is only this breath, this heaviness, this quiet room where nothing needs to happen at all. The workshop sleeps. The workshop holds its stillness, the same stillness it has held all through the night. The lamp glows. The hum continues. You are here. And from this quietness, there's room to let the night's wandering settle, to let the thoughts and images that have drifted through find their resting places, like tools return to shelves, like cables coiled and set aside. You don't need to remember any of it clearly. The details can blur, can soften, can dissolve into something simpler than memory. Just a feeling, perhaps, of having traveled gently through time, of having visited quiet places without ever leaving this room. There were small experiments, somewhere back in the haze of earlier hours. People gathered around workbenches, testing things, checking things, making small adjustments that accumulated into something larger. Quiet rows of cells holding their potential. The soft click of connectors seating properly. None of it needs to be recalled with precision. It can remain impressionistic, like a watercolor left out in light rain, the edges bleeding softly into one another until the shapes are more suggestion than statement. Let your forehead smooth now, if any tension has gathered there through the long hours. The skin can feel slack, the muscles beneath it releasing whatever holding they've maintained. The space between the eyebrows can widen, soften, grow peaceful. There's nothing to furrow toward, Nothing to concentrate on, nothing that requires the effort of attention. Just smoothness, just ease. The steady routines came later in the imagining processes that found their rhythm, work that became simpler through repetition, the gradual wearing of grooves that made effort feel less like effort. Someone wiped a bench, folded a cloth, placed a tool in its drawer. Someone else checked a list, marked a box, capped a pen. These actions don't need to be distinguished from one another now. They can blend into a single gesture of care, a single expression of patience, a single quiet commitment to doing things well. Your eyes are resting behind closed lids, two soft spheres held gently in their sockets. The muscles around the eyes have released their vigilance. No need to track movement, no need to focus on anything near or far. The eyes can simply be still, seeing nothing but the warm darkness of their own rest. Let them grow heavier if they want to. Let them sink deeper into ease. And then there were the everyday moments, driveways at night, charging cables clicked in gently. The faint glow of indicator lights that asked for no attention. Commutes through quiet streets, streetlights sliding by, cabins holding their stillness while the world passed outside, waiting areas with warm lamps, soft nods exchanged, brief words of thanks. All of it ordinary, all of it unremarkable, all of it fading now into the larger quiet that holds everything. You can let this blur. You can let the story become less than a story, just sounds, just rhythm, just the presence of words that don't need to mean anything at all. The meaning was never the point. The point was always this: the settling, the softening, the slow drift toward rest that has been happening all along, whether you noticed it or not. Your jaw can release completely now, the hinge joints loosening, the teeth parting slightly, the tongue resting wherever it finds the least effort. The jaw has worked so hard through waking life, speaking, chewing, holding expressions, clenching against stress. But now it can simply hang, suspended and easy, part of a face that has forgotten how to try. The workshop remains unchanged and unchanging. The same coiled cable rests on the same shelf, its loops patient and even. The same covered car waits in the same corner, its shape soft beneath its cloth. The same warm pocket of light surrounds the bench, and the same hum fills the air, and the same coolness lingers near the doors, while the same warmth gathers near the lamp. Everything the same, everything steady, everything holding you in its quiet constancy. Your neck can soften now. The muscles that have supported your head all day, releasing their effort. The head can rest fully on whatever supports it, the weight given over completely, the neck becoming just a gentle curve of ease, connecting the settled head to the settled shoulders. There's nothing to hold up. There's nothing to support. Just rest. The journey of this night has been a simple one, from curiosity to experiment, from experiment to routine, from routine to the ordinary rituals of everyday life. But you don't need to trace that journey backward or forward. You don't need to understand it or remember it or carry it with you. It can simply be what it was. A gentle accompaniment to your own journey towards sleep. A quiet presence beside you as you drifted deeper and deeper into rest. Your shoulders have settled so deeply now that they might not feel like shoulders at all. Just slopes of softness, just hills of release, just part of the larger landscape of the body at ease. The arms extend from those slopes, heavy and warm, the elbows soft, the forearms resting, the wrists limp and easy, and at the end of the arms, the hands lie wherever they lie, the fingers uncurled, the palms soft, the whole weight of them given over to gravity and rest. It's okay if you've stopped following. It's okay if these words have become just sounds, just murmurs, just the gentle wash of syllables against the shore of your awareness. You don't have to understand anything. You don't have to hold on to anything. You can let everything go. The story, the images, the workshop, the night. All of it can dissolve into the simple fact of your body resting, your breath moving, your mind drifting toward whatever sleep feels like for you. Your chest rises and falls with a rhythm so slow it barely registers. The breath has found its own depth, its own pace, its own way of moving without any guidance from you. The chest is soft, the ribs are easy, and somewhere beneath them, the heart continues its quiet work, beating slowly, steadily, asking for nothing, sustaining everything. The belly softens with each exhale. The muscles of the abdomen releasing whatever last holding they've maintained. The breath can sink low now, filling that soft space, and the exhale can be long and complete, emptying without effort. The belly rises, the belly falls, ancient rhythm, endless patience. Your back is held completely by the surface beneath you, the spine resting in its natural curves, the muscles along the vertebrae soft and warm. There's nothing to brace against, nothing to support. The back can simply be a landscape of ease, held by something larger than itself, trusting that holding completely. The hips are heavy, anchored, grounded. The pelvis rests like a bowl set down on a table, still and stable and asking nothing. From this anchor, the legs extend, thighs soft, knees released, calves warm and heavy, ankles loose, and at the end of the legs, the feet rest completely, the arches soft, the toes uncurled, the soles held by whatever surface cradles them. You are one calm weight now, one continuous landscape of rest. From the crown of the head to the tips of the toes, the body has become a single expression of letting go, held by gravity, supported by stillness, breathing without effort, existing without trying. The workshop is growing quieter still, if that's possible. The hum seems softer now, more distant, as if it's fading into the larger quiet of the night. The lamp still glows, but the glow seems gentler, warmer, less like light and more like presence. The covered car rests. The cables wait. The tools sleep in their drawers. You can let this fade. You can let the workshop become less than a place, just a feeling of safety, just a sense of being held, just the quiet knowledge that somewhere in the stillness, everything is as it should be. The breath moves, soft, slow. The body rests, heavy, warm. The night continues, unhurried, patient, holding you in its vast, quiet embrace. A hand reaches out, in the workshop or in the imagination of it, and places a final tool in its drawer. The drawer closes, with the softest click. The cloth is folded one last time, placed in its corner. The clipboard hangs on its hook, the checklist complete. The lamp dims. The glow softens. The shadows grow gentler. And the hum fades, slowly, like a breath released, like a thought dissolving, like sleep arriving without announcement. The workshop settles. The night holds. The stillness is complete. Rest now. Heavy. Warm. Help. Breath soft. Body still. Mind quiet. The night goes on. You go with it. Drifting. Fading. Resting. Nothing to do. Nothing to hold. Nothing to be but this. Soft. Still. Safe. The lamp goes dark. The workshop sleeps. And so do you. Good night.